Good day, Math Kagaling students! I am here again, Teacher Jom, and I will be your guide in exploring the educational, wonderful, and fun world of Mathematics 7. Be with me as I discuss the graphical presentation of data. The most essential learning competency of our lesson is uses appropriate graphs to represent organized data such as histogram and ogive. Are you now ready, Math Kagaling students? I am happy to hear that. In our previous lesson, you learned about pie chart, bar graph, and a line graph. You learned how to read and interpret information from each type of graph. You have also learned to determine which type of graph to use. Before we proceed, let's have a short game. Choose the correct button in order to switch on the light. Are you now ready, Math Kagaling students? Let's start. Question number 1. Which type of graph represents size relationship between parts and a whole? Is it a pie chart, bar graph, or a line graph? Let's see if your answer is correct. You're right, it's a pie chart. Number 2 question. What kind of graph would you use to represent the annual number of vehicle fatalities in the city for the last 10 years? Is it a pie chart, bar graph, or a line graph? Let's see if your answer is correct. You're right, it's a line graph. Third question. A company wants to show how fast its cars can accelerate when compared with the competition. Which chart should you use to convey this information? Is it a pie chart, bar graph, or a line graph? Let's see if your answer is correct. You're right, it's a bar graph. Great job, Math Kagaling students! Let us now proceed to the graphs of frequency distribution. When a data set has many entries, it can be difficult to see patterns. In this section, you will learn how to use frequency distributions to construct graphs. Remember that a frequency distribution is a table that shows classes or intervals of data entries with a count of a number of entries in each class. The frequency f of a class is the number of data entries in the class. The first type of presenting frequency distribution data is the histogram. A histogram is a bar graph that represents the frequency distribution of a data set. Its y-axis shows the number of data values within each class of a frequency distribution, and x-axis shows the class boundary of each class. A histogram consists of tabular frequencies shown as adjacent rectangles erected over intervals. The height of a rectangle is also equal to the frequency. Remember, there is no gaps between bars. Because consecutive bars of a histogram must touch, bars must begin and end at class boundaries instead of class limits. Class boundaries are the numbers that separate classes without forming gaps between them. Using the given data, let us construct a histogram. To construct a histogram using the given data, first, draw two lines perpendicular to each other intersecting at 0. The horizontal line is the x-axis and the vertical line is the y-axis. Along the horizontal axis, choose the uniform width of bars and write the class boundaries. We have 0.5, 10.5, 20.5, 30.5, 40.5, 50.5, and 60.5. Along the vertical axis, choose the suitable scale in order to determine the heights of the bars for the given values. Frequency is taken along y-axis.
We can use the scale 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and 18
to determine the heights of the bars. Lastly, draw the bars according to the given data. 0.5 to 10.5, we have 8. 10.5 to 20.5, we have 14. 20.5 to 30.5, we have 8. 30.5 to 40.5, we have 2. 40.5 to 50.5, 5. 50.5 to 60.5, 16. And here is the histogram of the given data. Let us now proceed to the next type of presenting frequency distribution data. Second type of presenting frequency distribution data is the ogive. An ogive is a line graph of the cumulative frequency distribution. An ogive, sometimes called a cumulative frequency polygon, is a type of frequency polygon that shows cumulative frequencies. In other words, the cumulative percent are added on the graph from left to right. A cumulative frequency distribution is the sum of the class and all classes below it in a frequency distribution. An ogive graph plots cumulative frequency on the y-axis and class boundaries along the x-axis. It's very similar to a histogram. Only instead of rectangles, an ogive has a single point marking where the top right of the rectangle would be. There are two types of ogive. We have the less than ogive and the greater than ogive. In graphing the less than ogive, the cumulative frequencies are plotted against the upper class boundaries. In graphing the greater than ogive, the cumulative frequencies are plotted against the lower class boundaries. Using the following data, let us construct less than ogive and greater than ogive. By definition, an ogive is a line graph of the cumulative frequency distribution. Since we don't have yet the cumulative frequency, we need first to determine the cumulative frequency. To determine the less than cumulative frequency, we add up the frequency going up to the table. The first cumulative frequency is just the same as the frequency because we are adding it to 0. The final cumulative frequency is always equal to the sum of all the frequencies. We will start at the bottom. So our first frequency is 8. 0 plus 8, we have 8. For the second less than cumulative frequency, we add 8 and 14. So 8 plus 14 is equal to 22. For the next, we will add 8 and 22. Therefore, we have 30. For the next, we will add 30 and 2. Therefore, we have 32. Next, we will add 32 and 5. Then, we have 37. For the last, we will add 37 and 16, which is 53. And here is the less than cumulative frequency. To determine the greater than cumulative frequency, we add up the frequency going down the table. The first cumulative frequency is just the same as the frequency. because we are adding it to 0. The final cumulative frequency is always equal to the sum of all the frequencies. For the greater than cumulative frequency, we will start at the class boundary 50.5 to 60.5. Our frequency is 16, so 16 plus 0, we have 16. For the next greater than cumulative frequency, we have 16 plus 5. Therefore, we have 21. Next, 21 plus 2, we have 23. Next, we have 23 plus 8, therefore we have 31. 31 plus 14, we have 45. Next, we have 45 plus 8 equals 53. Since the given data are complete, we can now proceed in constructing the graph of less than ogive and greater than ogive. To construct less than ogive, first, draw two lines perpendicular to each other intersecting at 0. The horizontal line is the x-axis and the vertical line is the y-axis. Along the horizontal axis, choose a uniform width of bars and write the upper class boundaries. We have 10.5, 20.5, 30.5, 40.5, 50.5, and 60.5. Along the vertical axis, choose a suitable scale in order to determine the heights of the bars for the given values. Less than cumulative frequency is taken along y-axis. We can use the scale 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. To plot the points, we will use the data from the less than cumulative frequency. For 10.5, we have 8, 20.5, 22, 30.5, 30, 40.5, 32, 50.5, 37, and 60.5, 53. Lastly, connect the points using a ruler. To construct greater than ogive, first, draw two lines perpendicular to each other intersecting at 0. The horizontal line is the x-axis and the vertical line is the y-axis. Along the horizontal axis, choose the uniform width of bars and write the lower class boundaries. We have 0.5, 10.5, 20.5, 30.5, 40.5, and 50.5. Along the vertical axis, choose a suitable scale in order to determine the heights of the bars for the given values. Greater than cumulative frequency is taken along y-axis. For the y-axis, we can use 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. To plot the points, we will use the data from the greater than cumulative frequency. For 0.5, we have 53, 10.5, 45, 20.5, 31, 30.5, we have 23, 40.5, we have 21, and 50.5, 16. Lastly, connect the points using a ruler. And this is the graph of a greater than ogive. It looks like you have learned a lot today. Let's try to put into practice what you have learned. Answer diligently the given task. How many correct answers did you get? Your score will tell you if you need to practice more or move to the next level. For your assignment, do the given task. I hope you have learned a lot from our lesson today. Always stay healthy and keep safe. Goodbye!